Yo, what's good? Welcome to the Hive Hustle, the captivating podcast that we're going to delve into the vibrant world of street culture, whether that be roller skating, dancing, being a father, a business person, graffiti, all these cultures that have helped me grow as a person.
It's official now, the Hive Hustle podcast about to sit you down. Go and fix your crown. This ain't a grain of salt. Pick your brain and thoughts, even through a major loss. Still remain a boss.
Today I got a great guest, for real, aka Lamont Wallace, my brother, my friend, my coworker, my partner. We've been riding this journey out for almost 20 years now. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me here. I've hustled, man.
Hey, we starting. First episode. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. So we just going to get into it because I got a lot of questions for this man. First and foremost, as someone with diverse talents in dancing, DJing, and being a father, how do you balance your professional and personal life?
Oh, okay. Good question. Good starter question. I would say taking a break. Balancing everything. Sometimes you got to take a break and really focus on how you can be a healthier you, how you can be a better you. So, giving yourself that grace and mercy and really taking the time to recharge, to heal from the things, that go on around you or the way you react to things. So really recharging and taking that break is healthy because you don't want to be consumed by everything that you do. So really stepping away on and off.
Yeah, man. Speaking of breaks, like I tell people all the time, like Sundays is my day.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like before I met my wife, I was sushi and skate Sundays every Sunday.
Yeah.
And I feel like as a passionate person and a creative, like you have to have that getaway.
Absolutely.
Whether that be video games,
Whatever.
whether that be roller skating, whether that be going to the garage and labbing.
Whatever
We grew up in dance and we grew up with the ability to use it as our therapy, but then it became somewhat of a job description, so to speak. Like when people look at us, they look at us as dancers.
Yeah.
So we had to find, I feel like us as creatives have to find something else.
Got to find more. Yeah.
Well, all right. So how did your passion for dance and DJing begin?
For dance, I would say it's, just being a kid watching Michael Jackson and, Janet Jackson, Beat Street, Breaking, all the classic movies and stuff. And just a kid being in a, living room, just dancing. I was a huge fan of Madonna too. And just letting that kind of evolve, having the courage or just wanted to showcase my talent in talent shows. And, that started as a kid. And, of course you meet people as you grow older and, throughout your school years, middle school, high school, that have similar interests. So it's like, you kind of continue that journey. As an adult, it just kind of, I would say it happened. It kind of falls into your lap. Like you still have the talent, but you don't know where it's going to take you. So you kind of get, in that car and just see where it takes you. And it started off with just, getting down with the crew. I hear People of the Sun, that was like my real official crew, not my first crew, but it was like my official crew. I had to really battle. And then it just kind of took me there, and then street performing. And, then we end up in Bourbon Street. We was at Bourbon Street. Yeah, we was at Bourbon Street, variety show. And just sitting back, looking, reflecting, it's a destination. And I just kind of let it take me wherever it went, from Carnival Court, doing those things, dancing with the homies.
Getting paid in Red Bulls.
Or getting paid in Red Bull at Carnival Court, you know what I'm saying? Like just the journey. And that was just dance. And then how DJ came along was, a good friend of mine was my roommate, Soul Rain was my roommate. And I saw how passionate he was about, DJing and then getting to know him more. It became, he was passionate about music and I had the same passion, but I was always worried about like so many different things of DJing, but like I had the love for music. So that's what helped me get into DJing. It wasn't like I jumped into it. It went from a hobby to a career. So they kind of piggyback off one another, dancing and DJing, but it's something like that just kind of grew, you know, and it kind of falls in your lap and you just kind of take it, like how people do video games or they do Pokemon cards or anything of that nature. It's just how things, you know, just how it just grew. It just grew. So I'm not mad that it grew.
Literally, I don't think anybody would be. Now, what are some of the challenges you have faced pursuing a career in dance and DJing while also fulfilling your responsibilities as a parent? Because obviously, if anybody watching, I've known this man for 20 years. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? I've watched him be not a father. I've watched him be a father. And I've watched him raise 3 beautiful girls. So that's what I want this podcast to be, is more or less getting to know the human. Beside the artist. Yeah. So like challenges, what did you face being a dancer, also working in the corporate world, and still pursuing a DJ?
Time was a huge challenge, huge construct, you know, is time. Sometimes you don't have enough of it. Sometimes you abuse it. You procrastinate, you know, by abusing it, or woulda, coulda, shouldas, or, you know, just not really being in the moment. And it's like not necessarily planning so much, but really what am I supposed to be doing now? You know, and sometimes I got ahead of myself of like, I need to do this, but not understanding where I'm currently at. And that was like a huge thing of just like time. You know, you want to balance it to be, you know, your best self in everything that you do, but it's only 24 hours in a day. And for sometimes, you know, we're all different. We're all different on this planet. So that was something that was a struggle, you know, getting out of work and then trying to make sure you got enough rest to go do this gig, or, you know, you want to commit time to practice. And time was a struggle. And it's like, I would combat with time because I would be frustrated because I either didn't use it properly, or I felt like there wasn't enough. But reflecting, it's like, there is enough. You know, it got me this far, so obviously it did what it was supposed to do. You know, time did what it's supposed to do. But that was like the biggest thing, of just time management. And when I got into the corporate world, and time management was like one of those things, you know, they kind of teach you. You have to learn it. You have to learn it, you know what I'm saying? And they want you to be time efficient, you know, and responsible at work. Like, I really took a lot of those trainings from that I received in the corporate world, you know, in my 9 to 5, and brought that home. You know, how do I balance time to, you know, my dad hat needs to be on, my husband hat needs to be on, you know, my dancer hat, my DJ. So it was really, you know, taking the time to understand it, you know, to like, okay, I don't need to beat myself up and, you know, do all these things, but just really, but that, I would say that was a huge, for me, that was a huge challenge.
I think that's like, regarding the first question, like how you balance it, you know, time. Like, I remember before I had children, like I wasn't intentional with my relationships. And now that I have kids, I make sure that they know that I'm present.
That you're present.
I was just talking to somebody else about it. I was like, even if it's an hour after work, and I just play with my son and my daughter. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And they look at that as the best part of their day.
The best part of their day.
You know?
The best part of their day.
So, now this is a different one.
Okay.
Can you share a memorable moment when your love for dance, DJing, and fatherhood intersected in a unique way? Ooh. I told you when.
It's official now. The Hive Hustle Podcast about to sit you down. Go and fix your crown. It's official now. The Hive Hustle Podcast about to sit you down. Go and fix your crown. Go and fix your crown. Go and fix your crown. Go and fix your crown.
That's
I told
fire.
You he was going to be on it. I
That's
told you it was
fire.
going to be some good
I
questions.
like that. When have they intersected?
Yeah, dance, DJing, just your creative life and your father, and you being a father. When have it like intersected a memorable moment that you can remember?
I know one comes to mind where I got asked to DJ for World of Dance. Okay. And, you know, the twins, you know, kind of put World of Dance on a bigger scale. Yeah. So I remember I got asked to DJ, you know, by the homie to, you know, DJ the battles. And there was a lot of people signed up. The World of Dance that year was big out here.
I think it was like 2019.
I think it was like
because I was an invite, wasn't I?
It was the one me and Style did. I think it was
I was an
2018,
invite.
2019.
It was at the CMXX.
No. Before that, when we were at
Cashman.
That
I did
year.
enter,
That year,
but I
you
wasn't
did-
an
yeah,
invite.
you did enter
that was
that
like
year.
2017.
That was- yeah, that
because
was-
Cashman stopped at like 2018.
2018. So it was
that was
around
the
that
last
time.
cycle,
2016, 2017. It was around that time. And I remember my kids are just, my youngest, she was just barely born, but my two older daughters, they understood like kind of like where I was. You know what I'm saying? Like they really kind of like saw me in like a different light. Like, oh, my dad's not a DJ. Like they were kind of aware of World of Dance and like the show was popular.
because they're because they're younger, so they know like, oh, that's World of
Yeah,
Dance.
they were kind of familiar with the whole thing, and they came and experienced it, and they saw the lights and the cameras and stuff like that. They saw a lot of different things. All the people that knew me, and they saw me like on that stage and in the battle. They kind of
intertwining with people. They saw you being in your area.
They saw me being in my zone, and they took some pictures that day, and I have those pictures on my phone. But they took some pictures with like the World of Dance, like stuff on the walls and banners and stuff, and they were really like, my dad's doing this, like that was like a good moment for me. Like my dad's in this, like I know what this is and my dad's in this. So that was a real cool moment that I kind of wore on my shoulders. That night, the after party was crazy. I was DJing that too. Yeah. So it was cool, to see all that and see how they took that in. I really enjoyed
that's
that
dope,
moment.
man.
Really
and
enjoyed that moment.
It's crazy because I remember a moment with me too, like landing. I was battling at a small event, and my son was like, I hear him in the video.
Yeah.
Like, let's go, Dad.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man, if that ain't going to bring me tears.
Yeah.
So it's like you have those moments, and they bring you back.
They bring
you know
you
what
back.
I'm saying?
Bring you back.
Now, what advice do you have for aspiring artists who are also parents trying to pursue their passions while raising a family? Dean.
One, I would say consistency. Don't compete against yourself. If you're going to compete against anybody, compete against yourself. Don't look at anybody else's pockets or success or compete against yourself. That's first and foremost, and give yourself that grace and mercy, as artists, we're so hard on ourselves and we're such a perfectionist with our artwork, but like really give yourself grace and mercy, because how we see and perceive things, not everybody sees it the same way as we do. Mm-hmm. So like really giving yourself that grace and mercy behind what you do, no matter where you're at in your journey. If you've been in it for 10 hours or 10 years, like really giving yourself that grace and mercy, and really just stay consistent with it. And consistency doesn't mean every day. Some people believe that consistency means every day. That's why I said, give yourself a break. Consistency means it's within you. Consistency means you're in your, you can have the dialogue. Even if I'm not dancing or DJing, I can have the dialogue. I can still help. I can still teach. That's the consistency. It doesn't consume me, but at the same time, I can say I'm consistent in this field, in these fields. So those are the two biggest things, that I definitely say.
Yeah. And ultimately, just to piggyback off of what you're saying, is like, it's a journey. That's what I've noticed.
It's a journey.
Like,
it's not a destination.
I remember being downtown, renting a car and doing Uber and doing stuff like that, because I had to. You get what I'm saying? I knew I had a dream. I knew I had a want. I knew I had a vision. Yeah. And it was consistency that got me where I'm at. I'm not the best at anything. Yeah. I'm good at what I do. Right. But am I the best? No.
Because that's always debatable.
All I am is consistent.
Consistency will always outshine
especially
talent.
With like parents. Like, while we're trying to raise a family.
Oh, yeah.
Consistency matters the most, because your kids are watching you.
Consistency matters the most. Consistency. Letting them see you recharge and heal from things that you're gonna experience in the world on a daily basis, or on a situation basis, but letting them see that transparency, as opposed to you just being a workhorse. Like that's a huge part of it. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. The balance matters.
Yeah, very much. Now, has street culture, hip hop, DJing, crump, all of these things. How has it impacted your parenting style?
Wow.
I told you.
These are good.
I don't think anybody understood how deep I was going with these
are
questions.
Good. These are really good. Yeah, you do. That's a curveball at the end.
This ain't the end either.
No.
We still got a couple
end
more.
of the question. No, the end of the question was a curveball. How has it impacted my parenting? I would say on a music tip, just the content, of what's being put out, and really being transparent with, my family, my children, about what is actually out there. Not saying like, oh, you need to understand the old school, but like really like letting them know why is it old school? What makes it old school?
Yeah.
Having these dialogues and conversations about the music. Like me and my wife and, my kids were an open book. So it's like with my older kids, we definitely talk about like, this is that, and we try not to sugarcoat it. Like you singing this and you don't know what this, you got to know what you're singing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And a lot of parents, don't really have those conversations with their kids because they think they don't know. And they do. And the last thing you want for your child is them singing something and then they get to a certain age of like, why was my parents letting me sing that? You don't want to. We look back,
And when we was younger and the stuff we were singing, and I'm like, I'm glad my mom didn't know. Come on, bro. We could just say the Backstreet Boys. They were crazy. In sync.
I want to sex you up. Like I was singing, I want to
sex you up, bruh. I was 6.
It's so inappropriate. It's so inappropriate.
Yeah,
we get it. But like having those conversations back then, it helps you through adolescence. My personal beliefs. So like having these conversations now, my children get older. You know what I'm saying, and they're in their teenage years. It's beneficial. So that's on the DJ side. On the dance side, it's like it helps me. I've tapped into their creative. Minds. Okay. So how do I want to, nurture that? How do I want to feed their creative?
Yeah, are they artistic?
Are they artistic?
Are they drawing?
Are they drawing music? Like, are you into photography?
What are you doing?
Like, and I didn't want to, because I know it was hard for me. I know it's hard for a lot of us.
When we grew up in the 90s, our parents didn't like us being creative.
They didn't like us being creative.
You got to go to college.
You got to go to college. You got to get a corporate job.
I remember my mom telling me that.
Bro. It's
like, I want to be an artist. The artists don't make no money.
They don't make no money.
Well, Mom, look at me.
Yeah, facts. And I mean, it's just those things, though. It's feeding that artistic, bug that they have. And it's like, I want to make sure that I have those same conversations. You can make money off of this. You can live off of this, or this can be pure passion and you don't have to. Like, I don't even want to put the pressure on them of making money off their art, but at least giving them the option that they can. And I think
letting them know, like, hey, I did this.
You can do it.
You can do it too.
You can do it.
And I feel like that's the biggest thing that drives me, bro.
That part.
Like, I tell my son and my daughter, I don't tell my daughter because she can't speak, but I tell my son all the time, I'm like, dude, you seen me. Like, I tell him, like, you met me 4.5 years ago.
Right.
And I was making a couple $100s a month off of my freelance work.
Your freelance work.
Now I have a whole office, and he's watched me grow.
He's seen the progress.
He's seen the progress. And I'm like, I tell him all the time,
beauty.
Ooh, damn. Sorry, I read the question before I asked it.
It's okay.
What are some of the key life lessons you've learned from your experience as a dancer, DJ, and being a father? Give me like 5 tops.
First one coming to mind is patience.
That's good.
Patience is something I wish I would have had sooner, but as I've been on this journey, patience has been a keystone. Being patient in my relationship, being patient in my family, being patient with my DJing and dance, not really being like, I got to get here. I got to get to the next step. I got to have this. I got to have that.
Understanding that it's a journey.
It's a journey. You know what I'm saying? And this time will come. So patience was huge. Definitely communication. Dealing with people, DJing, dance, gigs, with family, the things that go on in society, communication is something that not only communicating, but comprehension. Like, that was a huge backbone of communication. Like, how do we talk to each other? And I'm going to tell you what I hear. So I can let you know, instead of saying I hear you, like, you don't want to parrot it back, but you want to definitely let somebody know, like, I'm comprehending what you're saying, so this is what I hear. So comprehension was a huge part, as well as communication. Definitely
patience, comprehension, and communication.
And I would definitely say, there's one more. I would definitely say I say this thing to my kids, and I say, like, building your own castle. And I don't know what this falls under, but it really, I tell my kids, like, of how they build a sandcastle. And I use this analogy of, like, I'm giving you the tools to build your own castle. You're going to have people, you're going to have different things of nature that are going to try and destroy what you're trying to build. And only you can be happy with this castle. And I give them this analogy, even my youngest daughter, of, like, this is what life's about. You're going to build your castle, and you're going to want it to be, and the way you see it and the way you want it, that's all that matters. Not how your parents see it, not how your friends see it or society sees it. Like, your castle is important to what you see. Now, you can mess up your own castle by doing things in life that can break your own castle down.
Yeah.
And so things, outside can break your castle down. But you always have to remember that you're building it,
And it's a consistent process.
Yeah. And I really give them that, that kind of idea, that kind of visual. And I don't know what that really falls under, but, like, taking these things from my job, from DJing, from dancing, and, like, I really give them that. And my daughters really understood that simple analogy, like that example. They really took that in. So
It's official now. The Hive Hustle Podcast about to sit you down. Go and fix your crown. It's official now. The Hive Hustle Podcast about to sit you down. Go and fix your crown. Go and fix your crown. Go and fix your crown. Go and fix your crown.
Now, how do you incorporate your artistic expertise, like, in your daily routines? Like, you've learned so much. You've taught me tremendous amounts of information.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So, like, how in a daily routine would you say you implement that?
I'm a computer for one, so there's a lot of processing that goes on in my head. I take things that I hear, things that I see, and it kind of goes into this little, my memory bank. And I figure out some way or some kind of way, somehow to kind of use these creative things that I see and hear on a daily basis, whether it be at work, on the radio, on the freeway, just seeing anything, and just, like, to make my inspirations go further than just what I know it can, like, really taking things in and, like, sitting on, like, a piece of information and seeing how that can transpire into something else, as far as, like, you see weird things on TikTok all the time. And, like, how do I take these things and, like, how do I do my own thing? Or I saw this and this can influence that. So it's like, in our artistic world, I kind of compute everything and I reflect on the things that I see and hear. And I really try and throw away the stuff that I know is, like,
Chew the meat, spit out the bones.
Yeah, kind of chew the meat, spit out the bones. You know what I'm saying? And really, like, digest it, because we take so much in, but sometimes there's some things that we could take in that we can actually use. But just staying in that constant field, like, sometimes I don't lab, but when I do lab, it's intentional of what I see or what I've stored in that memory bank. And then it's like, if I'm hearing things or even patterns or colors, like, I see certain things to where I want to DJ a certain kind of way. So it's really taking things and, like, not putting too much extras on it and just taking it for what I took that as. I see these little colors on the mic. That's going to make me do something,
literally.
That's going to make me do something later. And I'm not going to try and make it
It's
I'm
natural.
going to make it whatever it tells me.
Yeah.
So it's, like, natural. Yeah.
That's dope. Well, hey, man, I don't know about y'all, but I'm getting some crazy good stuff.
It's live right now.
Last question.
It's live.
Can you share a heartwarming story about the positive impact that street culture and music has had on your relationship with your children?
Positive impact.
That street culture and music has had on your relationship with your children.
I would definitely say I'm a big music hunter. So for that part, I would say the things that I find, knowing that things are bigger than what we hear on the radio. So that taking that, you know, piece, things are bigger than what we see, what we hear, what we see on a phone. It's bigger than that. So really not trying to diminish or belittle or shrink certain things that my kids see and feel, and really expanding on these things, really learning how to elaborate and talk about these things, because it's the tools, you know, and I've gotten so many tools from dance, from DJing, from computer softwares and different styles and techniques. And these are all tools to help me be the best me, or be my, you know, my own style. So it's really taking like all these tools and then making sure I start bending and reshaping these tools to pass down to my kids so they can do what they want to do. But they know, hey, I didn't really get this tool from the bank. I got this tool from my dad that got this tool from DJing or dancing or this area. And it's like really passing these tools down so they don't walk out feeling empty-handed. But it's a lot of that, I would say, it just comes from the experiences and really just giving them tools so they can operate in life. That's a huge part of my journey. That's just a huge part of my journey. And it's like so many small things that I've experienced that I reshaped and gave it back to them, or I saw somebody act properly or improperly, and then I reshape that and give that. Like it's like this, the full transparency. That's the word. Like just being fully transparent is what made the positive impacts on my kids. Even the negative things that I went through, and letting them know the beautiful side of something. You know what I'm saying? Of like, this was a mistake, but this is how it turned out. And this is, you know, the things that I could have done better. Like that full transparency is what mattered.
I feel like, in a nutshell, these are the words that come to my mind when you speak about like your journey, your life, your kids, your family, you growing up, you being an adult, but then also growing up and being a parent in Vegas, which is a crazy city. You know what I'm saying? You tell me it all the time. You turn losses into lessons.
Turn losses into lessons, bro.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that is, in a nutshell, like we've all went through things. But if we can take that piece that we learned out of that thing we went through, it makes it worthwhile.
Makes it worthwhile. If you can't learn from your mistake,
literally, you're going to be going through the same mistakes.
Going through the same mistakes over and over. So,
well, hey, man, look, we had 26 minutes. What'd I tell you? Hey, if you're watching this, we appreciate you. This has been the first episode of the Hive Hustle podcast. You see my backdrop. I'm going to be doing interviews with a bunch of different people. I hope you tune in. And this was good. I hope you got some good information. Y'all have a good one.